I gathered in his name. He has promised to be there to set their hearts aflame. And right now I sense the nearness of His presence in our midst. What a privilege to feel His presence, and oh, how sweet it is. So sweet is the Spirit when it moves among His people. Hearts are melted, lives are changed, and dreams restored. He brings healing for every heartache. He has a promise for every problem. Just so sweet is the Spirit of the Lord.
Right. Good morning. Morning, ladies. Good morning, everybody. Apologies for being late. I hope I'm audible. Somebody please let me know. Because we are late, and I'm going to say it. It's true. I'm well intentioned when I say that, and that is that I do not aim to be long, because I know some people are waiting for the Zoom prayer service. But it is also important for us to do our quick traditions. So we take our greetings. My queen was here first thing this morning. Good morning, my queen. Morning, Sive. Good morning, Tombi. Tombi's here. Lizzie was in here. Rebecca is in the house. Majere is here. Macho is here. Sis B, good morning. I hope that is you. I'm just making an assumption. So when we come in and we greet. And I always say, what's the word I'm looking for? I always say that please also like this broadcast. And if you are able to copy and put it on your status, it also makes a big difference. Ladies, I'm hoping not to be long today, because the message is very, very simple. And I'm glad that my queen is here, because I have not been able to stop thinking, my queen, and analyzing and going through what you said during our night of prayer. So it was the last Sabbath or the other, when we had that Saturday night of prayer. Good morning, Smons. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I have not been able to think about the use of the word that you gave us, and that is as first half. And second half and half time, and maybe it's because I'm a mother to two boys, and so my life is spent in many places, and among other places my life is spent along the soccer field, screaming. Just on Monday evening I was out there screaming and shouting, and people playing sports. But I have not been able to forget about that. And let me just give you the text of today before I go too far, but I shouldn't be long. I'm not even aiming to preach and to shout. If it happens, it will be happening on its own, but I don't want to be long. But I think God has sent me here to give a message to someone to whom it will matter. And I suspect it's all of us. And that's about purpose. That's about purpose. And I think if there's one thing that God has been clear to us about this year, it's been about our mission as the theater of grace, but our purpose, I think, is humans. But of course, we are women here. Our purpose, which is important for us as women. Let me give the text for today. I'm still with Nani in that chapter of Luke. I'm still in Luke chapter 5. So can someone please write it down? Luke chapter 5, verse 4. Right? Luke chapter 5, verse 4. It is a verse that we commonly all know. Luke chapter 5, verse 4. Luke 5, verse 4. Somebody write it down. And let me read it in the common version that many of us know it in, and then I will read it in a couple of other versions because I found that quite interesting. And if you are one of those that was asking God, and I was, give me something as we're going into the second half of this year, and that's hence the title of this message. As we're going into the second half of this year, what have you got for me? Give me something. I always ask God for something: a verse, a word, a phrase, a posture. And this is what he gave me, and I'd like to share it with you because I think it's a message for all of us. Luke 5 verse 4. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, right? He said to Simon, launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. Launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. I pray that reaches someone today. And let me tell you what I picked up in this verse, because many times I would just stop at the word launch out into the deep, right? Which is an instruction. And when God instructs, is it Ellen White who says that his biddings are his enablings? All right. We know the context of the verse. And if I go back to the context, we will lose time. But the context is that of Peter and his brother and James and John. So it's the first four disciples to be called. And the very first disciple that Jesus spoke to, the very first of the 12, the very first one that Jesus spoke to and instructed to do something. The rest of them followed. The very first one was Peter. So this man has got a critical role to play. He's got a huge purpose, and he does not even realize. And it's starting to unfold now, but it is unfolding in a manner that he does not even recognize. And sometimes it looks like this, but this actually has got a much bigger purpose. So what is God saying to us for the second half of this year? Here's the message, ladies. Launch out into the deep. That's the message. That is God's message to you. And now I'm charging and challenging you to spend the time today asking yourself, what do you mean for me, dear Lord? I'm going to try my best and break it down, but it may have a specific meaning for you, Annalise. It may have a specific meaning for you, my queen. It may have a specific meaning for you, Smons and Sis B, etc., etc. But here is the message from God. Launch out into the deep. Both, it's not a message. It's a command. It's a command. And when Ellen White says, when he commands, he also enables. So I do not know what deep God is referring to in your life, but he has commanded you to launch out into that deep. But let me tell you something. When he commands, he also enables. So he has already enabled you. But what I love about this command, and it doesn't always happen with God's commands, but listen to this one. Listen to this one. Launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. What is it saying? I'm commanding you, but this command is also attached to a promise. I do not know how the first half looked for you, ladies, but God is giving us a command to continue, to not stop, to not give up. Go again into the second half. But there's a promise after this command. The promise says, for a catch. In other words, you will catch something. And I wish you and I can talk at the end of 2025 and reflect. Did God deliver on his promise? But I don't need to hear from you because I know my God. I know our God is a God who commands. Our God is a God who enables. But our God is also a God who delivers on his promises. And I would like you to write those three things. Our God commands, yes. But our God also enables. And then our God delivers on the promises that he has made during his command. Now, let me read it in a couple of other versions. Because the one is the one that we know, all right? Then it says, when he had finished, this is now the Amplified version. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, which is Peter, put out into the deep water and lower your nets for a catch of fish. All right, so this is now the simpler version. The other version says same thing. Put out into the deep of water, lower your nets for a haul of fish. All right, and then in my language it says khwelelisela enzulwini nihlise iminatha yenu kubanjiswe athi yena undikhoyo nihlise iminatha yenu nibambise inhlanzi. There was one that I wanted. Yes, this is the Message Bible. The Message Bible says when he had finished teaching, he said to Simon, push out into deep water and let your nets out for a catch. Now, the guys were fishing all night, right? And as they were fishing all night, we know the story, right? All the conditions were right, but they still caught nothing. And then before we go too far, then God comes in, all right, and does what he does. And then after that, he says to them, launch out into the deep. And then let me read it in the Message Bible. Push out into deep water and let out your nets for a catch. Push out into deep water and let out your nets for a catch. Push out into deep water. Somebody write down deep water. Please write that down. I'm going to come back to you. Please write that down because it's very, very important. And this is what Jesus is saying to us and to me. Deep water. Push out into deep. In the second half of this year, push out into deep water. And then there's a promise. When you do that, you will catch, right? You will catch. So there's a promise. But listen, who is he talking to? I'm going to come back to you. He's talking to a Peter. Thank you, Martin. He's talking to a Peter and an Andrew and a James and a John who are watching nearby, who are tired. They're tired. Who are tired. Can I just see the hands of those who are already tired? We are halfway into 2025 and some of us are feeling tired. Let this year end. I'm going to start again next year. If that is you, just raise your virtual hands. He's speaking to guys who are tired. And they are tired from the effort. The guys, they were working hard. The conditions seemed right. And when they came, they did not expect that they'll catch nothing. They are tired from fishing all night. Secondly, he's speaking to guys who are discouraged because not only are they tired because they were fishing, but they are tired because they were fishing all night. Now, where does the discouragement come from? The discouragement comes from the fact that they planned. They had a clear plan. They came at the right time. They are experienced in this whole process, but they tried. I am sure they tried everything during the night. They tried here and they tried here. Everything that they know at a human level, they've tried. I am sure. I'm certain that everything that they know at a human level, they did try. But let me tell you something. They caught nothing. So not only are they tired, ladies, but they caught nothing, and that has led to discouragement. So they are tired and they're discouraged. And of course, we know that because they were washing their nets. Right? We spoke about that the very first time we came across it. They were washing their nets. But and the power of God, and this is the power of God in your life as well this morning. The power of God is that he catches them just before the sun rises and they abandon the nets and they walk away from the nets and they walk away from the boats just as they're about to completely abandon this thing, living sad, living discouraged. He comes in. And yeah, there they are, Simons. They were also about to give up. He comes in and he says, whoa, guy, before you go, before you leave the nets, before you abandon the boats, can we just take a deep breath? And my queen. And this is where halftime comes in. And this is the power of what we did last week. And the power of in your walk with God, you can't just keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. At some point, you've got to stop and take a deep breath. And that is what God has done and is doing and has done to us last week and is doing for us this morning. Before we approach the second half, dear Lord, before we approach, ladies, the second half of this year, our Father called us and is calling us this morning to huddle, to the change room, to the prayer room, to the war room. He's calling us this morning. Our coach, Jesus, is calling us this morning to sit and spend a moment before we go far. Before we go into the second half, I do not know, and I'd like to hear from you. How was the first half for you, ladies? How was the first half? My friend Messi uses the word exploded. We exploded into 2025. I know I did. I exploded into 2025, and we had big plans, and we had a mission. And for the first time ever, our purpose became clear. Certainly for me, purpose became clear to be fruitful and to multiply for the glory of God and for the blessing of humanity until Jesus comes. Our purpose became clear. We were exploding and we were excited. And I knew I wanted to be fruitful in my role as a wife, in my role as a mother, in my role as an educator, in my role as a professional, in my role as a business. I wanted to be fruitful in my finances. I wanted to be fruitful in my health. And I wanted to be fruitful in my relationship. We were clear. And of course, we got onto the field. Soon after the 21-day fast, we got onto the field. And sometimes, ladies, the theory is exciting. Sometimes the process of decision making is exciting. Sometimes the process of writing down our resolutions is exciting. But the proof, as they say, is in the pudding. Then we got onto the fields. And we started playing and we started pursuing our purpose, and life got harder. Why? Because our role was to go in there, pursue our purpose, and win. That was our purpose. We were pushing to win. We were pushing to score. And of course, what happened? Brother Basekaya? We've got the opposition team, whose interest, so our interest was to win. Our interest is to pursue the purpose of God. But we've got the opposition whose interest is to make sure that we do not win. The interest of the enemy, the interest of the opposing team that we are playing against is to ensure that we do not win. Our interest is to ensure that we push to win. We push towards the goals. We push towards the fulfillment of our purpose. We push towards the things that we've got on our minds and the things that our God has commanded to do. But it wasn't easy, was it? I'd love to hear from somebody who said, oh, it was easy. It was so easy. The first half, the first half was like we were flowing. It wasn't easy. It is never going to be easy because we are playing against an opposition. Oh, can I also tell you that our opposition, there's a word that they use in soccer. The opposition, my boys use this word, and we often have to talk about this word. The opposition not only is the interest of the enemy, ladies, to stop you from scoring, to stop you from achieving your goals, to stop you from fulfilling the purpose. The interest of the enemy, let me use the word that my sons used, is to Brexit you, they say. Usama does not only want you to use the word Brexit, which was a different word, but the aim of the enemy is not only to stop you from scoring, which is something, right? Because some of us were trying, but his aim is to Brexit you. His aim is to kick you in the shins. His aim is to kick you in the face. His aim is to kick you in the gut, so that not only do you not score, but that you stop playing. That you stop playing. How many of us, ladies, have been playing until the 31st of June? You were at it, you were playing. I know it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I came in and I was playing, but around about February, he came. Woo! And he kicked me in the guts, and I stopped playing. For a moment, he doesn't just want us to not score, to not win. No, he does not even want us to get to the finishing line. He does not even want us to get to the goals. But even worse, he wants to kick us out of the game for good. And can I tell you something, Madam Basaka? There are many who have stopped. There are many who have abandoned the game. There are many who have left the game. They left the game hurt. They left the game discouraged. They left the game angry. They left the game bitter. They left the game bleeding. They left the game completely having given up. They left the game. And that's the aim of the enemy. But that's the aim of the devil, to get us out of the game. He plays dirty. There are no rules when it comes to the enemy. But before I start to sound like I am praising the enemy, can I pause and say, but we have on our side Jesus. Our coach, and this is now what happens in my children's games, right? And we're playing a night game just on Monday. So this is what happens in my children's games. Then they're playing against the other side. And so it's hard. They are not scoring. And they come in with aims. My son said, Mama, I'm going to score 10 goals. He said, he's a goal scorer. He scores. That boy, he knows how to see the goals. So we knew that my son is going to score. Right? He was playing 5 matches, but we went on the first one, they drew. Second one, they lost. Third one, they lost. Fourth one, they drew. We were left with only 1 match, but there is one thing that little boy gave me on Monday evening. Just before we went on to the last match, he still said to me, Mommy, I am going to score. Listen, I had no hope because they lost 4. Well, they didn't lose 4. They drew 2. They lost 2. And it was the 5th match, and I did not see how. But he said to me, Mommy, I am going to score. And boy, did he score. But here's the beauty of their matches. And here's something, and it's something I want to play for you. That I'm now losing time, but we're going to try and wrap it up just now. And so when they play, their coaches are on the field with them. Their coaches are on the field with them. Can I tell you something, as strong as the forces of darkness can be, as strong as he might seem to be in your ears and maybe in your life when you look at the pain that you are suffering, but our coach is in the field with us. Our coach is in the field with us, and that is why we are here. We've arrived to the second half of this game. That is why we have arrived at the second half of this game, because while it was painful, while you had those moments where you wanted to give up, the coach was right there with you. I don't know how many times my son fell, and I was on the side, ladies. And I want to tell you something. Well-meaning people watching you on the side, they will tell you, why don't you stop? Why don't you walk away? Why don't you let go of this thing? I was on the side. He fell twice. Twice he fell, and he was crying, and there I was, Nenimba, well-meaning and loving. I said, my boy, why don't you come out, Bantu? Why don't you come out and let somebody else come in and play? But he looked at me and said, no, Mom, I don't want to come out. And the coach was there, brushing him, telling him to stretch his leg, and he would get back onto the game. And eventually he scored. Our coach, ladies, our coach is in the field with us. Somebody please write that down. Our coach is in the field with us. How do I know? That's why we are here. Yes, the opposition plays dirty when I call. Yes, he plays dirty, but we are not alone in this match. We are not alone in this match. We are here. We are standing because the coach is in the field with us. And now, ladies, after the first half, after the struggle of the first half, after the pushing of the first half, you may have scored a goal or 2. You may have lost a match or 2. You may even have been hurt. You may even have been hurt. And one of the things that I've learned to do, I've learned to play. One of the things that I've learned to do in this game of life, and I learned it this year, the day we proclaimed our purpose is the day that we picked the enemy. And I learned to play hurt. I've learned to play hurt. Whether you are hurting or not, you play. You play. Why? Because purpose does not stop, and purpose does not get stopped by pain. You play even if you are hurt, because the coach is there with you. And this is the same coach who played hurt, ladies. He went all the way to the cross, and he was hurting like hell, hurt by the very people that he put, but he continued to play. So one of the things that I've learned to do is to play hurt. And that is the whole point of this game. You will hurt sometimes because you have an enemy in the game. You will hurt sometimes because you've got an enemy in the game. The enemy does not want you to score. The enemy does not want you to continue. But play, even if you are hurting. Play, even if you are hurting. You may play limping, but continue to play anyway. Continue to play anyway. And let me tell you, about 7-8 minutes into that game, the same game, then because he was hurting, he won. They won the last match, and in the end, we win. I said I was not going to shout. In the end, we win. We will win bruised. We will win hurt. But in the end, we win. The whole time I'm watching him, so they're sitting like, man, there's something wrong with Ubatu. He is limping his leg, but he got a moment. He got a moment. Wakaul. I've never screamed this. I screamed that much. He's going to hurt you. He's going to harm you, but the coach is with you. But can I tell you something before I stop? The coach is calling us now to halftime. to halftime. The coach is calling us now to halftime. I wish I could say to you, the game is over. I'm now going to that message. This one here, this word here. Launch out into the deep water. I wish I could say to you, but the game is over. The game is over. No, the game is not over. But here's what God does. God divides time. Every single day, we have a moment to stop. We play for 8, 9, 10 hours, and then we have a moment to stop and to go back into the change rooms. That is our prayer rooms. And now we're looking at the bigger portion of time, which is a year. And before we go into the second half, ladies, we are sitting now together at halftime. The first thing that happens at halftime, they come together. They huddle. Can I just say, can we make it? I know that's who we are at the Theater of Grace. For the glory of God and the blessing of humanity, that humanity is us. And in the change rooms, they huddle, ladies. They hold each other's hands. They come together. That is saying you are not alone. We are together in this struggle, ladies. And so every now and again, when we come together every Wednesday and we pray with each other and we pray for each other, it's a huddle. We are saying we are not alone. We are together in this thing. Let's try again, ladies. Let's push one more time. We are not alone here. We are not alone here. I am praying for you, God. I am praying for you, Marjorie. I'm praying for you, my queen. But I'm asking you to pray for me. So during halftime, we huddle. We come together and we say, oh my goodness, we are not alone. But we also look at each other and we take cotton wool if we have. We take whatever and we comfort each other. We say, man, you did that thing well. Well done. Thank you for helping me there. Thank you for passing to me. We do that. But also in the huddle, we get to come together. Because in the game, by the way, the coach is there, but he's quiet. He just does little things. He will brush you here and there. He will whisper a word, but he doesn't speak long. He doesn't speak loud, but he's in that game with us. But here's the beautiful news, ladies. During halftime, the coach draws nearer. During halftime, the coach draws nearer. He then takes a moment, by the way, to reflect back into the first half. Well done on that pass. Well done on that score. Well done on playing, although you were hurt. Watch out for that. That thing is going to be a problem. Watch out for that gap in your finances. Watch out for that gap in your health. Watch out for that gap in your mouth. Watch out for that gap in your prayer life. Watch out for that gap in your devotional life. Watch out for that gap in your time that you spend on social media. That's the coach. That's the coach huddling with us. But he is never, we know how Jesus speaks with us. He corrects us. And Ellen White says, but always in love. He huddles with us. And then when the huddle is finished, he sends us back in the match. I don't know, ladies. I'd love to hear from you. We don't have time. How did the first half go? There are three things, though, that we walk into the halftime with. Some people have one. They are winning. They are winning, but you still need the halftime. You still need the halftime to say you have to keep winning, because if you do not go back and listen, when you go back, you may just lose the game if you become complacent. Some people go into the halftime having drawn. I won some, I lose some. That's me. That's me at my current halftime. Oh, I lost some, but I did win some. Why? Because God is always on our side. But sometimes some of us go into the halftime having lost, and the temptation to give up is strong. But our Father says, deep waters. Deep waters. He says to the guys, he calls Peter. Oh, Lord, I'm so out of time. He says to Peter, come, give me your boat. And then launch out to Peter is in the boat with Jesus. While Jesus, by the way, is speaking, Jesus is busy attending to other people using Peter's boat. He does not even begin with dealing with Peter's pain, with Peter's discouragement, with Peter's doubt, with Peter's regret. He doesn't. He just uses Peter's situation, uses Peter's boat to deal with other people, but keeps Peter close. Sit here and watch me attend to your neighbor's prayers. While you are sitting here watching me, I'm using your situation to attend to your neighbor. Sit here. I'm going to come to you. He did not even say that, by the way. But by faith, Peter sat in that boat and listened to Jesus, because Peter's purpose was unfolding and he did not even know. I'm running ahead of myself. It's a message for the next time. That fishing here was not about men. It was not about fish. It was about men. And Peter did not even know. But I'll come back to that. And then Once he is done with the crowd is satiated, the crowd is satisfied. Jesus says to us, deep waters. In the second half, ladies, go deeper. Okay, let me go to the water. Is it not Jesus who introduces himself to the woman at the well? The same woman had given up. That woman had given up. She had given up hope. But he says to her, I am the water of life. I am the Christ you have been waiting for. You've been coming here to fetch water, liquid water. But what you need is the water of life. So ladies, in the second half, I know you were praying. I know you were taking some of this water. But Jesus says, launch out into the deep waters. In other words, I am the water of life. And I'm offering you the best thing that's ever happened to you, me. Launch out into the deep waters. Waters being me. Water being Jesus. Water being, but come closer. The message is simple. In the second half, ladies, go deeper into Jesus. If you are going to pursue your purpose, because the purpose, it will only stop when you die. You can abandon your purpose and you'll be miserable. You will be miserable. If you know your purpose and you live without it, you are miserable. You become miserable. So don't abandon your purpose. But what do you do when you have been hurt? What do you do when you're discouraged? What do you do when you are pushing and it's not happening? Jesus is saying to us, launch out again. But go deeper. Go deeper in Jesus. Go deeper in me. Go deeper in me. Pray harder. Pray longer. If you were spending 10 minutes in the word, can you spend 15 minutes in the word? Serve even more. That's going deeper into deep waters. That's going into deep waters. Pray and pray without ceasing. Continue to pray without ceasing. Go deeper into prayer, ladies. Spend more time into prayer. Keep praying. Keep fasting. That's going deeper into the water. Secondly, spend a bit more time in the word. Spend a bit more time in the word. You'll find your strength in the word of God. Ellen White puts it so well. There is no book ever so potent to give us all that we need. Thirdly, serve. Serve even more. So as you are going into the second half, do not let up. Do not let up. Don't let, I'm stopping now. But what did you write down in your journal for 2025? What was there? What was there? If you were me, financial wellness. Have you given up on that? Some of us who were given a homework by Younger, which by the way is going to be required at the conference. Some of us had planned to save some money. What happened? Did you save even 10 rand? Jesus is saying, go back, launch out into the deep. Go and save. Even if you didn't save for 6 months, you've got another 6 months. You will say, I have saved for 6 months of this year. You are going to try and get out of debt. You're going to try and put something towards a certain debt. Do that. Don't give up on a life of financial wellness. For some of us, it was health, physical wellness. How far are you with that? How far are you with that? How fruitful have you been in the area of physical wellness? And Jesus is saying, launch out into the deep. Continue to pursue your physical wellness. Continue to pursue that, because let me tell you, somebody said the other day, once you have, in life you have many problems, but once your health breaks, you only have one problem, a health problem. Where are you with your health goals, Bandona Masakai? Jesus says, you're still alive. You're still breathing. 2025, the game is still on. Pursue your physical wellness. What about your relationship goals? Your relationship with your children, your relationship with your siblings, your relationship with your spouse, your relationships with your colleagues at work, your relationships with your neighbors, your relationship with your brothers and sisters in your church. How's that relationship? Have you given up on that relationship? Jesus says, launch out into the deep. Pursue fruitfulness. Pursue multiplication. Even in that relationship, you're going to spend time with your children, more time with your kids. Pursue that. What about your marriage? For some of us, for those of us who are still married, what about that? Where you're not going to pursue a better marriage, where you're not going to pursue God for a better relationship with your spouse. The game is still on. The game is still on. Pursue fruitfulness in the area of your relationship with your husband. And I'm talking about you now, you and your side of the window, you and your mission, you and your purpose. We'll talk about him some other time if we ever talk about him. But as far as God is concerned, pursue fruitfulness. The game is still on. The coach is on your side. He is present right there with you. What about your business? What about your business? What about your professional life? What about that area of growth you are going to pursue in your professional life? The game is still on. Pursue fruitfulness as a professional, as a boss, as a manager, as a subordinate. Pursue fruitfulness in that department. Let that be something in that department that says, in your business, in that which you do. Continue. But you know me. I'm not going to leave it without you. What about you? What about you? What about you? What about you? Well, you're not going to pursue fruitfulness in the area of your personal life, playing you, doing you the best way you know how. Or you're not going to pursue fruitfulness in that regard. Jesus says, listen, launch out into the deep waters and lower your nets for a catch. God has promised that if you go deeper into him, you will not come back empty-handed. Asibuyi nembande yesikhova kuThixo. Asibuyi nembande yesikhova kuThixo. If you launch out, if you go deeper into Jesus, and many of us can testify here, you do not come back empty-handed. I am so sorry I took long this morning. I did not want to leave it hanging. In other words, I declare in your presence and asking for your prayers in the second half of this year. He can hit me if he wants to. That is not my problem. I declare in your presence in the second half of this year, no matter what, I will pursue fruitfulness. I will be fruitful and I will multiply for the glory of God and the betterment of people's lives until Jesus comes. And yes, he has promised that if we do that, we will catch. And I'm looking forward to us reflecting at the end of 2025 and say he is faithful. He delivered on his part. And I know him. I know him. God is going to deliver. Go deeper, ladies. Go deeper. Go deeper. Go deeper into Jesus. Go deeper. And that's the message for the second half. Thank you so much. I am so sorry. Now we go over to the Zoom prayer service. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Enjoy the fasting day today. Oof.